Hello, my name is Kate and I'm a recovered addict. Um, Thank you so much for allowing me to do service tonight. Um, if you're new in the room, or if this is your first meeting, you never have to drink and use again. And that's a promise. I'm going to tell you a bit about what it was like, how I got into recovery, and what I've learned so far. My clean date is the 23rd of June, 2019. Was the first day that I understood that this was life or death for me. I had that gift of desperation. And for as long as I can remember in my childhood and growing up, I had this incessant noise in my head. It would tell me lies. It would make me stop eating. It would tell me to kill myself. It would say that I was worthless. It jumped on every insecurity that I ever had. It made me lie. It made making friends really difficult. I became very extroverted as a kid, and nothing would stop this noise in my head. And I remember asking my parents one day, or my mum in the car, Mum, there's something not right. There's something going on. I can't explain it, but there's something missing in me. It's like I don't have what my sister has, like this ability to be happy, just happy and content. I didn't say it in those words. I was about 7. But I never knew what was wrong. And I have this belief that when I first took a drink, it actually saved my life. It saved my life because when I took that first drink, it stopped the noise. It just stopped it. I just heard silence, nothing. And I drank to blackout, and I couldn't believe that I managed to black out and I didn't have any dreams, because there is trauma, early trauma. It doesn't make me an addict. I know plenty of people with trauma that don't turn out as addicts. But it used to give me horrific night terrors. Wake up covered in my own piss and shit and vomit. And for the first time, when I took that first drink, I drank to blackout and I didn't dream. I didn't have one thought. I didn't have memory of even passing out. And I thought, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I took the rest of the bottle into school with me the next day, disguised in I think it was either a Sprite bottle or an empty Coke bottle. And I started drinking alcoholically from quite an early age. And I was still pretty high functioning. I got all my GCSEs. I was always very academic, but I really bloomed on stage. And I did really well. As soon as you put me on stage and put a microphone in front of me, that was it. I was off. This other person. And I think that's definitely my second ever addiction, because it took me out of myself. If I was on stage, I was playing someone else and I didn't have to be me. I could think like someone else. My name was someone else. It was my escape. And by the time I was 17, I was going out free partying, chasing the rave. I had my little Ford Fiesta, and we all used to pile in. We used to go around the country finding these illegal raves. And I tried all kinds of all of the party drugs. And I was getting myself into some really, really dangerous situations. And I didn't care. I didn't care what danger I was in. I didn't care who was around me. I didn't care what happened to my body, what happened to me. I didn't care. If you had it, I wanted it, and I will get it any way that I can. It was around this age where I was around a dealer's house, and I went to the toilet, I came back through, and there was something fizzing in the bottom of my drink. And I said, "Did you just spike my drink?" And he went, "Yeah." I went, "Thanks for the free drugs." And I nicked it. Nothing in me just went, "You're going to get raped," or, this is going to be really bad. It was, "Thank you for the free drugs." And I used to purposely put my drinks on the sides of nightclubs or anywhere that, because just in case someone wanted to spike me. That's not normal. Normal people don't do that. But I thought it was normal. I thought everyone else had this thing, because once it's inside of me, I have this little thing in my ear going, more, 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 more. How are you going to get it? I remember being at parties and people would be like, "Right, well, I'm going to bed now." And I remember the horror. Like, what do you mean go to bed? What do you mean? Like, I'm ready to go. Let's 4 days, 5 days. Let's keep going. Well, what do you mean? I used to feel physically ill when people even mentioned stopping the party or going to bed or having some food. Ooh, my God. You know? Um, by 18, I was pregnant. By 19, I was a single mum. I'd been cuckooed, groomed into county lines, ended up homeless, squatting in a bedsit, getting beaten every single day. But it was all his fault. But now looking back, it's like, well, I was with him because he used to give me free drugs, right? Because I'd only date a dealer. I remember sitting there one night in this squat with all my stuff piled up, all up the walls, and this flea bitten mattress on the floor. And I just thought to myself, this is the worst it could ever be. This is the worst it could ever get. What am I going to do? So he was the problem, so I got rid of him. The squat was the problem, so I got a house. Where I was the problem, so I moved again. Those crowds of people, they were the problem, so I moved again. I went to university because I somehow managed to get some A levels, and I thought education was going to save me. I thought university is the cure. It's going to save me because there's no drugs and alcohol at universities. I dragged my son there too. And all it was materialistically, things were looking better, and I was improving things, and I was going to uni, I was doing my degree, and I had this part-time job, and I was juggling all these things. And on the outside, everyone was looking inside, and they were like, "Oh my God, you're doing so well. Look, you're a single mom, you're part-time working, you're doing this uni. Like, how are you doing it?" Blah. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great." Shut the door, go to bed now. Could be 6 o'clock, sometimes 5 o'clock, sometimes 7 o'clock. Don't get out of your bed, because it's my time now, and it was my time to drink, my time to use. I neglected my son. He woke up on his third birthday, and I pretended it wasn't his birthday because I hadn't had any money or any presents for him. No cake, no balloons, nothing, because all of my money was going on drugs and alcohol. And I looked at that little boy's face on his birthday, and I remember thinking, I'm a scumbag. What a scumbag. What a fucking scumbag. I still got drunk that night. Once I start, I cannot stop. If that is you as well, welcome to CA. I will put anything or push anything out of the way to get what I want. Now, I love my son. I will burn this fucking planet to the ground for my son. I am 100% completely capable of first-degree murder if anything would happen to him. But he could not stop me drinking and using. He couldn't. I thought a mother's love was going to be stronger than that. How wrong was I? The drugs and the alcohol came first every single time. I managed to graduate uni. I won awards for playwriting and put on shows, and thought, well, I better become a teacher then, because there's nothing else I can do with my arts degree. And I need a salary because I've got to make use of this degree somehow and make it all worthwhile. So I moved again to become a teacher. And before I became a teacher, I decided that, well, I've kind of run out of money, so I better become an escort first. And so I did some escorting, and then I went into teaching. So I went from shagging your husbands to teaching your kids within about a month. And that was what it was like. It was just up and down and up and down. It just was never neutral. There was never calm. It was always one or the other. You know, that Jekyll and Hyde. If I went out drinking with you, everything would be funny and everything would be great. And then you say one thing and boom, snap. And I was gone. I'd be chasing you around with a meat cleaver. Don't give a fuck. Like, that's the psychopath I become. Anyway, started teach training and became a teacher and realized that even though I was now a teacher and I had a salary and I was doing okay, and I'd moved back to Ipswich at that point, and you know, I had money for the first time and a really good car and everything was going great. And I remember it was my last drinking day. I've been drinking all day. I went to Suffolk Pride. We sat down at the marina, and I was talking to this lady. She was really friendly, and she told me, you know, she was like, "Oh, you work at that school? Cool. My daughter goes to that school." And we talked a little bit more, and she goes, "Oh yeah, no, I'm a social worker as well." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Can you find me any coke?" It just came out of my mouth. Like, can you find any, do you know anyone with cocaine? And she just told me I taught her daughter at school and that she was a social worker. Complete blank spot. This mental blank spot they talk about in the book is like, it's it's wild. I will do anything once I get that taste. You know, it's just more and more and more. I went back to my friends. I eventually found cocaine. I ran away from her because I realized what I did after I did it, and I thought, oh, bloody hell, I might actually lose my job here. The job that I'd just been, you know, clawing to get for 6 years. And I don't know what it was about that day, about that moment, but I remember looking down at this gram, and we were only just around the corner from the place that I was squatting in about 7 or 8 years before that, literally just a couple of doors away from there. And I looked and I thought, I am literally no better now after 6 years of trying to become someone and doing this and doing that and doing what I thought was going to try and help me. I'm no better now than what I was then. No matter how far I go, I will always loop back to the same thing, that I cannot stop once I've started. And once I've stopped, I can't fucking stay stopped. I can't do it. Nothing is helping. And I contemplated for a minute whether or not to kill myself, which at the time, you know, that was an actual valid option for me. I just thought, I can't get out of this. And then it was like a warm blanket just fell over me, and I just looked up and I thought, this is it. This is the last time. This is the last time I'm ever going to use. And my mate was stood there. He was still waiting for me to take this line. He was like getting impatient. He's like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Like, hurry the fuck up." And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Now, about 2.5 years earlier, I tried to come into a different fellowship because I realized that I was an alcoholic. But I thought I could still do drugs on the weekend. So I was going to all of these meetings for alcoholics and still doing drugs on the weekend, still picking up chips because I was like, oh, I'm free of alcohol for 2 months. But I was doing MDMA every weekend, you know. So it never worked, obviously. So when I had this moment, when I had this experience, it was like, there's only one place that I know that I need to go and try again. It's the last thing that I'm going to do because nothing else has worked. It really hasn't. And the next day, it was like this absolute detox. All these poisons just came out of me. It was like this absolute exorcism. And that was the Sunday. And then the Monday, I walked into my first meeting, and I remember, and never underestimate, right? Because when people come in, you see them for about a week or so and they go back out. Never underestimate the power of planting a seed, right? Because I remember in those meetings 2.5 years before that, they were saying, get a sponsor as soon as you can, work the steps, and then go and help others. And I just remember those three things. And so I was like, right, I'm going to go to the meeting, first meeting, the first woman that I see, I'm going to ask her to sponsor me. And that's what I did. And I embarked on this journey. There's a big point to mention in all of this, that I still didn't really believe that a book was going to save me. Like when I just couldn't understand. I was like, do you know how complicated I am? How much I've been through? How can a book possibly help me? I don't get it. But I was so desperate that I was so out of, there were no other options for me at all. So I just thought, wow, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do whatever this woman says. Now, I was in a different fellowship first, and that fellowship has always got a place in my heart. You know, it does so good, so much good for so many people. And how I first went through the steps was slowly. So we went through the steps about a step a month, if that. But you guys, the amount of pain that whole year, it took 12 months to get through 12 steps. I'm pretty sure I sat on my step 4 for about 2 months. 2 months of agony when I was just tearing myself to pieces. And I used to have to sit there, and you know, when it was on me, I used to have to sit there. I used to sit on my hands and just think, God, just please don't let me drink again. Please, I just can't do it. And something made me stay. And the amount of times I was underneath my duvet and I was ringing these women like, oh, I don't know what to do. And they're like, just keep going, Kate. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, go on, you'll be fine. Okay. Now I know, having done the steps again, having found CA and going through them quickly, I know how I like taking my sponsees through now. It's not the 1 step a month way, because I nearly didn't make it, you guys. And I'm not, this is just my experience. Other people have different experience. This is just how I feel. Anyway, so I was about 12 months, a year in, and I still had this head. So the head that I had as a child, it didn't go away. You know, I still had this roaring head, and I could go and kill yourself, Kate. And I was battling it every single day. And then something really horrible happened with somebody in that fellowship. And it was COVID by that time. And we were all in, and the walls were crawling, and I could see cracks in the ceiling, and it was just all getting a bit much. And I was trying to go to meetings, but I was doing really weird stuff, like doing yoga on a Zoom meeting, you know, with my camera on. There was some, COVID got weird, all right? But I was really, really ill, and I hadn't realized that I was actually working the steps backwards. You know, step 12 is meant to be helping others, sponsoring, doing service, preaching this message that there is hope for you. Like, if you are an addict or an alcoholic, like, there is hope if you do this stuff. You know, that's what I should have been preaching, but I wasn't doing any service. I was doing a little bit of prayer in the morning, only because my first sponsor was a priest and she wouldn't let me get away with anything else. But I was telling everyone I was doing meditation, but I wasn't. I was telling everyone I was doing yoga, and I really wasn't, except on screen on Zoom, you know. Weird stuff. I didn't even know what inventory was, my step 10, and I was literally doing the steps backwards, and I got so ill. Anyway, I had a really annoying mate who kept sending me these CA meetings. Come to this Wednesday meeting, there's loads of people. Oh, for God's sake. And anyway, one day I just caved because I didn't really have anything else to do. He was like, what else are you doing, Kate? I'm like, watching Netflix, eating chocolate. It was like, come on, Kate, you know. And he got me onto this meeting, and it was like this Wednesday night CA meeting, and everyone was literally on screen. They were going, man, they're like, CA, do the steps. You know, there was the energy in the room. Oh my God, it was so infectious. I was convinced that you lot were still doing drugs. I was actually looking in the little screens. I was like, there's definitely a CD case in there, definitely a rolled up note. You know, I was convinced, because I never saw anyone happy in recovery. I was like, it's just not possible. I thought I'd have to be miserable forever. And I kind of just I dealt with that. I thought, well, if I'm going to be miserable but sober, I'd rather be miserable, sober, and miserable and, drinking. So I'm just going to deal with it. Went to this meeting, they were on fire. They'll just, get a sponsor, do the steps, do this work, help others. You got to give it away to keep it, and all these things. And I'm like, I was absolutely buzzing, but I really didn't know what was going on. I was like rabbit in headlights. I was like, oh God, please don't ask me to share. I was very, and I got off the meeting. I was like, are you not still on drugs? Like, I don't like, and he was like, no, we're just actually, doing the work. And I'm like, what does that mean? And I realized, and I started going to CA because something in the energy of CA, we're here, we're free, we still go raving, and it's brilliant, CA does do the best raves, by the way. We do raves right, and I just wanted a piece of it. So I changed my sponsor to a CA sponsor, and she's just this northern absolute bolt of lightning that I needed. She's a straight talker, and I needed that. I needed discipline. She told me to, in the morning, you get on your knees, you pray, you do meditation, you ring 2 people, you read the big book. What else is it? Nightly inventory as well. And she took me back through the steps, and she did it quickly. And within, I think, about 4 or 5 weeks, we're through the work. And that's how I like to take sponsees through the work now. You don't have to sit miserable all the time. You can get this stuff. If you're just miserable at the moment, like, who have you helped today? Who have you helped today? Have you helped yourself? Probably. Don't worry, we all do it. And I just got busy with it, and then I got too busy with it. Yeah. And that's the thing as well, if you've been around for a long while and there's newbies and they're everywhere, they're doing this and they're going to that meeting and they're doing that business service and they're picking up more service and they're getting sponsees and they're doing all this stuff. Leave them alone. Let them get on with it. All the people with multiple years that are sat in this room did exactly the same. The first 18 months to 2 years of me being in CA, I did everything on steroids. At one point, I had 8 sponsees all in the book at different parts, and I was still a full-time teacher and a single mum. It was hard work, but I'm still here. I'm 6.5 years clean and sober and happy as a result of putting in the work. Be everywhere, do everything if you're new in the room or you're old and miserable. I'm not looking at you. Anyway, when I was 2 years, I thought I was ready for a recovery relationship. Oh, mate. I thought I would, it doesn't matter what my sponsor says now. I'm 18 months to 2 years. I know what I'm doing. No, I bloody didn't. Took me a year of solid inventory on that person to be able to even sit in the same room or even breathe in his direction. I've seen so many people out of the rooms because of that stuff. I've seen more Dick and Fanny take people out of the rooms than a crack pipe. I promise you, it fucks people up because you don't want to be honest about it. Honest about your feelings or what you've done or said. We get really, and then in my 3rd year, I was co-parenting at the time, and then something really, really awful happened, and my ex came to pick up my son, and I had to kick him out because I could feel something was wrong, and my mum got involved and she got really, really badly beaten by him. Really beaten, whilst me and my son stood and watched, in front of us. And I was on the phone to the police at the time anyway, and so the police came, they took our statements. Mum was really banged up, and as soon as they left, I got on the floor and I did you guys, I did the hardest prayer that I've ever had to do in my entire life, because I wasn't praying for me. I wasn't praying for her. I was praying for him, because it says in that big book that if I have a resentment on anyone for anything, it could lead me back to a drink and a drug, and I can't let that happen. When I said to my sponsor that I was willing to go to any lengths, I fucking meant it. I fucking meant it, you guys. And I got down on my knees and I prayed for him, and I still pray for him. I do. He pled guilty, and it is what it is, but that's what I had to deal with in year 3. In year 4, the biggest part of my life, the biggest person in my life, more important than my parents, because he knew everything that they didn't. He died really suddenly. And all I could do was feel it. I'd never, ever, ever experienced. So I'm just setting another timer. I've never experienced grief like it. I cried every day for 18 months. But I still got up, did my prayers, did my meditation. Sometimes I cry through my prayers. Sometimes I cry through my sponsee calls. There's a mute button for a reason. I've had to, mute. So how did you feel about that? What happened next? Mute. I've had to do that. Because when I told my sponsor that I would go to any lengths, I fucking meant it. I meant it. I will do anything for recovery, because I would do anything for drinks and drugs. And it comes before my son. It comes before my relationship. It comes before everything. This stuff has to, because I put drink and drugs before everything. There are no discounts. As a result of doing all of this stuff, I've been on convention committees. I've been able to perform at conventions in front of 500 people, and I'm singing, and I raised my hands and all the audience stood up, and I was like, oh my God. I've just been able to do crazy things. I singing at raves, at campvention, and oh God, the raffles. Oh God, if I ever have to do another raffle again, I'm gonna, but I've done service pretty much everywhere nationally. Service committees. I've done, the tea service is the best. If you've got tea service, isn't it the best? It forces you to talk to people. When you first come in, you don't want to talk to people. You just want to in the outside, but my son has never gone hungry in 6.5 years. I have never missed a birthday in 6.5 years. I've never missed a Christmas or had to beg my mum to buy me Christmas presents so I can feel something at the bottom of my Christmas tree. I have a Christmas tree that is big and beautiful, and it has lights on, and I can decorate my house in every season, and I can go out and I can mow my lawn like normal people do. I've never been able to do that before in my life, you guys. It's just the simple things that I enjoy now. It just rocks my world. I can love and be loved, and I can accept help. I'm teachable. Always remain teachable. There is a phase in your recovery that you start getting, well, my head's telling me my sponsor's a bit of a dick. Ignore it. Tell your sponsor about it. Laugh about it. It's all part of the process, and you grow with this stuff. And I get to see all of this whole CA, this whole fellowship, and all the people that stay and stick around. And I've seen magic happen. I've seen people getting kids back. I've seen people not get their kids back, but not take a fucking drink because of it. We can't make any promises that you'll get an old life back, a new life back, anything. But what I can promise you is that you never have to drink and use again if you do this stuff. If you're new in the room, get a big book, get a sponsor, work the steps, do as you're fucking told. Don't put your hand up if you haven't done your step 5 yet. And live your life and go to these unity events and just be free. I came here for freedom and I got it, and I maintain it by keep working the steps. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.